before we begin our lecture, let's pray. Dear Lord, please give us knowledge and wisdom. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's move quickly here to our main screen. As you know, I have taught you to write the minimum 1 here, and then right beside it, minimum 2. And then you have minimum 3 to 5. And then here at the bottom is where you will write your minimum 6. How do you do minimum 6? This is minimum 6A. Minimum 6A is the active participle. So you write minimum 6A like this. You write ont plus 2, and then you write us plus 1. Okay? What does it mean? Ont plus 2 and us plus 1. Well, if you look here at the bottom, you will see that this is the masculine here is based on minimum 2. Okay? So if you look here very carefully, you have here Sosia and Esoncias. Sosia and Esoncias. That is minimum 2. So you have here lu plus ont plus minimum 2 os. So you have luontos, luonti, luonta, luontes, and the other one here, esoncias, luontes, luonton, luusi, and luontas. Now you might be asking me, for example, how come this one is different? Right? Luon instead of, you would expect onts. Luons, right? Because it's socia. The problem is the sigma and the tau cannot live together, so they drop off. And then you have the lengthening of the vowel into omega. So luon. That's just the nominative masculine singular. Okay, so just memorize that. Nominative masculine singular, luon. The rest here are exactly the same. You have the same for the neuter. From minimum 2 is exactly the same. Now, how about for the feminine? Because for the feminine, you have us plus the first declension. So you have here a, ace, a, ain. I, own, eyes, us. Right? Let me just move it here so you can see it. But instead of using the eta here, we use the alpha. So this is actually a variation, and you can see it. This is a glossa variation. So you have, instead of a, instead of the eta there, you have the alpha, but it's still the same, right? It's just the change of these vowels here. So instead of a, ace, a, ain, we have a, ace, a, an. Okay? That's a standard variation that you can see actually if you studied minimum 1. So for the feminine, and then you see here in the plural is exactly the same, right? If you look at the plural, you have I, own, eyes, us. I, own, eyes, us. These endings are exactly the same that you would have, okay? So you have lu plus ont plus minimum 2. That is for the masculine and the neuter. And you have lu plus us plus minimum 1. That is for your feminine here. Okay. Very, very easy, right? As long as you know minimum 1 and you know minimum 2, then it's very easy for you to learn. Very, very quick and easy. So those are the active endings for the participle. What about the tenses? Right? How do we know the tenses? Well, let's give a parsing example here. For example, I have the word luon. How do I parse luon? It's very simple. You cut it here. Lu, that is your root, and then you have on. So immediately you look at the ending and you know that this is nominative masculine singular. And so you write nominative masculine singular. Very simple, right? Nominative masculine singular. Then you look. This is present tense, present, and then these are the active participles right there, active, and so you write active participle. So this is your parsing. Nominative masculine singular, present, active participle. So you might be asking me, sir, how do I know if it is present, future, aorist, perfect? Well, don't worry, because that's what I'm going to be teaching you next, okay? So just keep this in mind. You know, if you have phone or a laptop, just screenshot this as the active endings, okay? Very, very simple. It's not that hard to follow, okay? Again, on plus minimum 2, us plus minimum 1. Now, how do we add tense to the active participles? You will see that you have already learned the tense identifiers. So you just add the tense identifiers. Now, of course, this is nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. But all of them are using sosia, which is the minimum 2 endings. Now, for the present, you already know. You just put on plus the endings. So you have luon, luontos, luonti, luonta. Remember, this is an exception. Okay, that is for the present participles. How about the future? Very easy. You just add sigma, because sigma is the tense identifier for the future. Right after the root, you add sigma. So here, instead of luon, you have luson, the sigma. Here, instead of luontos, you have lusontos. There's a sigma. Here, instead of luonta, you have lusonta. So it's very simple. The future, you just add what? You just add sigma. So let's say, for example, let's parse this. Right? Let's parse this. This last word here, lusonta. Well, what you know, it's ont, so that is active because we are discussing the active participles. And you know that this ending a, right? It can be neuter, of course, but for our case here, we'll assume that it is masculine, right? It's the ending of the accusative masculine. Accusative, I'm going to write the parsing here. Accusative, masculine. It can be neuter, but we'll just use masculine. Singular. And then future, that's sigma. Okay, future. Active, because we're doing active. Participle. Okay? So this is an accusative masculine singular, future active participle. Lusonta. That is the parsing. Okay? Of course, if we do like luson, this is nominative masculine singular because these are all nominatives here, as you can see. These are all nominatives here at the top. So luson will be nominative masculine singular. So the ending, special ending. Future, active, because we're doing the actives, participle. All right? So that's how you find the future. You just add sigma. Very, very easy. Wow, so easy. Let's move next to the aorist. Now, the aorist tense identifier is sa. You can see it there at the top. sa. That's the tense identifier for the future. And so here we have lu sas, right? You would expect lusants, but lu sas is the ending. And so later on, I'll teach you how to memorize it. It's very easy, but just memorize these two, on and sas. Now, after that, after the nominative masculine singular, the rest, very easy. They're the same. You have here lusantos, you see the sa, and then you have lusanti, you still have the sa there, and then lusanta, you have the sa there as well. So instead of luontos, you have lusantos because it is aorist. Right after the root, you add the tense identifier. Instead of luonti, here you have lusanti. Instead of luonta, here you have lusanta. Okay? So, of course, you already know this is the genitive just by looking at it. This is the dative just by looking at it. And this is the accusative just by looking at it. But now, if you do parse for the tense, you know that this is aorist. Right? So, for example, let's parse this one here. Lusantos. Automatically, you see os, socia, os. I know that. I studied minimum 2. That is the genitive masculine singular. Remember, that is from minimum 2, socia. Genitive masculine singular, so automatically you say genitive masculine singular. Is it present? Is it future? Is it aorist? Well, you see the sigma there. It could be future, but instead of sigma omicron or so, you have sigma alpha or sa. Automatically, you know that it is aorist. So the parsing for this, I will write it down here so you can see, will be genitive masculine singular aorist active participle. Okay? Genitive masculine singular aorist active participle. Singular. Okay? So that's how you parse it. You always do case, gender, number, and then you see if it is what tense it is, and then voice, and then participle because we're doing participles. Okay. Then we have the the perfect. So easy. The perfect, always so easy. It's always so easy to know the perfect. You know why? Reduplication. So you see here automatically reduplication. Lelu. And then you have the kappa there. But I didn't even write the kappa because we just can figure it out by looking at the reduplication. So automatically perfect. So you have the same, right? Os, ia. This is still the same. These are still the same endings. So you know, if you see this is genitive. This one is dative. You know, you can see it. This one is accusative. You know just by looking at it. It's very easy. So let's but the important thing is you don't need to know how to write it exactly. The important thing is you know how to parse it. Okay, so of course instead of using on, you use kappa, but that's not so important, right? The important thing is you see the reduplication, you know it is perfect. So for example, lelukoti, if we parse that, very simple. You see here the iota. That means that it is dative, right? Dative masculine singular. So we write here dative masculine singular. Is it present? No. Is it future? No. There's no sigma. Is it aorist? No. There's no sigma alpha. So this is, you can see the reduplication there. You know that it is perfect. So you put here perfect, right? So very simple. Dative, masculine, singular, perfect, active, middle past, active, right? We're doing the active participles, active participles. So the parsing will be dative, masculine, singular, perfect, active, participle. Wow, so easy. There is one exception to the rule, and that is the aorist passive. So here you see the top, the aorist active. That here at the bottom you have the aorist passive. Now usually for the rest of the tenses, keep this in mind, for the rest of the tenses, they only have active and passive. But the aorist has three tenses. It has the active, the middle, and the passive. Why is that important? It's because the aorist passive also uses minimum 6A. The passive looks like, it's not the same, it just looks like. The passive for the aorist looks like an active participle. So here you have the passive, it's the same as the verbs, right? This passive tense identifier of the passive participle is fe, right? Sa, fe. And so you see here, lu, face. Lu, face. That is the passive participle. But the rest of it is also the same. Socia, right? Here you have socia, of course the sigma drops off. Here you have socia, also the sigma drops off. Here you have socia. It's all the same, except this is the form face. Then here you have thentos, thenti, thenta. Very simple. You know this one, os, that is the genitive ending. So you put genitive masculine singular. E, the dative ending, dative masculine singular. So let's try luthase. Let's try parsing luthase. Immediately you see this special ending. You put there nominative, masculine, singular. Right? This is nominative. This one is genitive. Nominative, masculine, singular. And then immediately you write aorist because they are the same. Right? This one is sa. This is the active aorist. Uses sa. This one is the passive aorist. Uses they. So you just put there aorist. Okay? But instead of putting active, all of the previous examples were active. This one is aorist, passive, participle. See? Nominative, masculine, singular, aorist, passive, participle. So, quick recap. All the rest that you see here, every single one of the rest that you see, the perfect, the aorist, the present, the future, all of them follow socia. Okay? These are all active except for the aorist passive, which also follows the same. Socia, right? On plus minimum 2 and us plus minimum 1. So this is just a unique one. But what you need to remember is you have ont, 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 ont. Then you have socia. All of them follow socia. Reduplication for the perfect. Sa for the aorist active. Sigma for the future active. And for the aorist passive, face. Here at the bottom. Not hard at all. So what do I mean when I said you need to memorize something? You need to memorize the present nominative masculine singular, the aorist active nominative masculine singular, and the aorist passive nominative masculine singular. So I suggest that you memorize it like this. Un, sas, says. Just memorize these three. because they will appear again and again. Un sastes. All participles, nominative masculine singular, are un sastes. Nominative masculine singular present, nominative masculine singular aorist active, nominative masculine singular aorist passive. Un sastes. So you need to memorize. So put it in a small window, and I'll show you later how you can write it in your minimum. Okay? But make sure that you memorize un sastes. Very good. Now we're done with minimum 6A. That is the actives. But we need to go to minimum 6B. Minimum 6B now is the passive participle, right? If Luon is the poster boy for the active participles, the poster boy for the passive participles is luomenos. Luomenos. So what do we do with the passive participles? Very simple. Even easier than the active participles. All you need to do is memorize men plus 1. What does that mean? What does men plus 1 mean? It means men plus minimum 1. Minimum 1. Of course, you already memorized minimum 1, right? Os, u, on, oi, on, ois, os. They're all here. You just add men and then those endings. So look here. Look. Luo, men, os. Luo, men, u. Luo, men, o. Luo, men, on. Luo, men, noi. Luo, men, non. Luo, men, nois. Luo, men, nus. See? All of these, they just follow minimum 1. Even for the neuter. Very easy to memorize. And for the feminine, same. AA's AAin, I, own, I's, us. Already memorize this. This is from minimum 1. So if you memorize minimum 1 and minimum 2, you don't have any problem with the participles. If you memorize the tense identifiers, no problem with the participles either. So it's the same. Luomenes, luomene, luomenein, luomenai, luomenon, luomenais, luomenas. You already memorized all of these. The important thing is you have men plus first and second declension, minimum 1. If you memorize that, you already know the passive participles. So easy. Oh boy. Luomenos. See, you see, you have the root, you have men, and then you have the minimum 1 ending. Okay? So easy. So, sir, how about the tenses? The tenses. We need to know the tenses. Okay. Let's try parsing first one word here, and then we're going to go to the tenses. Okay? So let's try this poster boy here, luomenos. So very simple. You have there luomenos. Os, like theos, anthropos, nominative, masculine, singular. Is it present? Yes, no tense identifier. So present. Active? No, this is passive because it uses men, right? So it's a passive participle. Okay, so that's your parsing there. Just remember, luomenos, passive. Okay, so that's your parsing. Okay, I'm teaching you how to parse. Very simple. Luomenos. If this luomeno, you just change this here to genitive. Genitive masculine singular, present passive participle. Okay, so of course these are all in the present tense. What if there are different tenses? How do we recognize the different tenses? Okay, so let's start with the present tense. Luomenos. Well, very good. How about if it is future? So simple. You just add the tense identifier sigma after the root. So you have luso menos. Luso menu. Luso meno. Luso, menon. Os, uon. Present, os, uon. Future, still the same. You just add sigma. Okay? So, instead of luo menos, you have luso menos. Instead of luo menu, you have luso menu. Instead of luo meno, you have luso meno. Just add sigma, right? Very easy. So that's how you do it. So let's say, for example, let's parse luso menu. Okay, let's parse. What's the parsing? Very easy. You have u, which is the genitive masculine singular. Remember, we are using minimum 1, unlike the active, which uses minimum 2, so siya. We are using os, u, on, which is minimum 1. Okay, so genitive masculine singular, that's correct. And then we have future. How do we know it's future? We have the sigma, right? The tense identifier here, sigma. So we have genitive masculine singular, future. Wow. Passive, how do I know it's passive? Because you're using men, right? Men is always passive, okay? Passive participle. So that's your parsing, right? Very easy, very easy. You can pause the video, take screenshots, right? And then you can do it yourself. You can parse these others by yourself. All right, we'll do ours last. Let's go to perfect first. Here in the side, you have perfect. Okay, so there on the very left, you have perfect. And then what you see? Reduplication again. Hiya. Reduplication. So the perfect, as long as there's reduplication, you know it's already perfect. So same. Instead of luo menos, you have lelu menos. Instead of luo menu, you have lelu menu. Instead of luo meno, you have lelu meno. See? So easy. Lelu menon. Very, very easy. You just look for reduplication. So let's try to parse this word here. First thing is you look at the ending. Omega with the iota subscript. So simple. Dative. Immediately, right? So we'll say it could be neuter, but we'll say it's masculine. So we'll say dative, masculine singular. What's the tense? Immediately you see there the reduplication. Okay, the dative masculine singular, perfect. This is what? With men, passive, not active. Perfect, passive, participle. Okay, so the parsing is dative masculine singular, then you look for the tense, perfect, then you look for the voice. Obviously, the voice is passive because if there's men, that's passive. Okay, participle. If you say ont, that is what? Yes, active. But we don't see ont, we saw here men. So lelumeno is dative masculine singular, perfect, passive, participle. Okay, that is your parsing. I left the last one. Aorist passive. Why? Because you already know it. Aorist passive, remember we studied this a while ago under the actives. I said that the aorist passive takes the form of the active. Remember? Unsa stays. So you know, for example, luthes, nominative masculine singular, present, no, aorist. Nominative masculine singular, aorist passive, right? We're doing passives. So the form is active, but it is passive. How do you know that it's passive? Because of the tense identifier, it uses they. Okay? They. If it uses sa, that is the aorist active. If it uses they, that is the aorist passive. And instead of using os, u, on, it uses sosia. So you can see here, sosia. Okay? So just watch out for the aorist passive. I just added it here so that you will not forget that this is an exception. So aorist passive takes the form of the aorist active, just with different tense identifiers. And so always remember, right? I will write it here. Don't forget. Un, sas, face. Memorize. Un, sas, face. Nominative masculine singular for the present active. Nominative masculine singular for the aorist active. Nominative masculine singular for the aorist passive. All right? So that's it. Now, I said a while ago, the aorist is unique because not only does it have active and passive, it also has middle, right? So if the aorist was not there, we don't have any problems. But the aorist is there, so let's just take care of it. How about the middle? The middle takes the form of the passive. So it's very simple. It's the same. You have lu, sa, menos, lu, sa, menu, lu, sa, meno, lu, sa, menon. Okay? So this is aorist middle, huh? Not aorist passive. Aorist middle. You have men plus os, u, on. Sir, what's the difference between this and the future? The future uses so, only sigma, right? Lu, so, menos, lu, so, menon. But since it's aorist, it uses sa. Lu, sa, menos. Lu, sa, meno. Okay? That's the only difference. This one is aorist middle participle. So I'm going to parse one. Okay, let's parse this one here. Menu, you know it's men, so it's either passive or middle. But then you see the sa. Okay, so this is aorist. So let's look at the ending first. U, os, u, on. U, that is very good. Yes, genitive. Masculine, singular. Genitive masculine singular. And then you have aorist middle participle. That is your parsing. So easy. Genitive masculine singular, aorist middle participle. So now you already know all of the participles. Okay? How do you do it? You can pause this video, of course, and watch it again. How do you do it? In the book, minimum 6A and minimum 6B are different. Here, I'm just giving you this one square. You have on plus minimum 2. This is for the masculine and neuter. For us plus minimum 1. This is for the feminine. This is for the actives, except for the aorist passive. But for all the other actives, you use this. These are for all the passives, except, of course, for the aorist middle. But middle and passive, right? So you have men plus minimum 1. Very good. So you already know how to parse, right? But sir, how about the tense? Very easy. I wrote it down here. Okay? Remember, un, sas, face. Un, present active. Sas, aorist active. Face, aorist passive. Sigma, future. How about perfect? I did not write it anymore here. As long as there is reduplication, that is already perfect. Okay? So, reduplication for the perfect, un for the present active, sas for the aorist active, face for the aorist passive, and sigma for the future. So, here at the bottom, you write that, okay? And you're done. That is your minimum 6A and B. All right, that's very easy to understand. And review this video, watch it again and again, try to internalize it. And I hope that this will be a blessing for all of you as you study for this course. May God bless all of you.